Hello and welcome Inside the Void with me, Spacey Goes. This is a podcast about video games, anime, cartoons, whatever have you. If it's in the void, it's on the table. Sorry, I'm still working on that. But hey, guess what time it is? Spring anime season. Yes, I know, I was supposed to do this forever ago, back when it started, and now it's almost over. So I might just end up doing this just at the very end. Once I get a better schedule in place, because I had so much going on. I had family stuff and then moving, and it's just a mess. So maybe when all that's over with, I'll try and get this anime shit right away. But as for right now, we're just gonna deal with it as it is. With that done and out of the way, spring anime season. The theme for this season is, drum roll please, I would slap the desk, but this isn't my desk and there's all kinds of expensive stuff here and I don't want to fuck anything up. The theme for this season is magical boys. Yes, you heard me right. Magical boys. Not magical girls, but boys. Again, disclaimer. I only have Crunchyroll to watch with, and I'll only watch stuff that has multiple seasons if I've already seen, the beginning of a season. So I apologize if I don't get through anything. I try and delve myself deep into those waters. Sadly, there wasn't that many this season that I was into. But we're just gonna dive right in. Caluglia? Wow, we're starting off really rough. It's also called the Caluglia effect. I apologize, as always, if that's wrong. But apparently it's based on a PS Vita game. Or I think it was PS Vita. I looked this up weeks ago. It makes sense if it was, because they have so many games out for the Vita. Anime ones and visual novels. This is one of those animes where it feels very clear just by watching it that, hey, you will have a better time just playing the game, going through the basic main plot, which is kind of convoluted and confusing. But then again, it was written by the scenario writer for the original Persona games, and it does have heavy Persona vibes to it, which is why I really dig it. Basically, what the story is there's this kid. He's a what is it? Psychology junkie? I think it's psychology he's into. I get confused because a lot of the stuff he talks about, actually, I've learned as a communications person. To anyone else, it just sounds like nonsense, but to me, I'm oh, I learned that in class. Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know those concepts. Right in the first episode, he talks about the Johari window, and even though it is from a psychology standpoint, it's still, the basic saying thing I'm familiar with. But you get this guy, and for some reason in this world, everyone's obsessed with what I assume is a Vocaloid. They don't outright say she's a Vocaloid, but it's clear that she is some kind of machine. She's some kind of AI, all up in the singing business. So, a Vocaloid. And somehow, with a specific song that this Vocaloid sings, everyone turns into monsters. For some reason, it doesn't affect everyone. I don't know what's up with that. I don't know if they're just immune to it, or if there's something else going on. Maybe they're not that big a fan of Vocaloid. Actually, what I really think it has to do with is that they're not suffering anymore. They realize their flaws, and because they realize their flaws, they're not as susceptible to this evil Vocaloid's, evil music or whatnot. And then there's these conductors that are kind of in league with her, and they're trying to have everyone be enthralled to her music and basically slaves to this secret utopia that's not really a utopia. And you find out later on, I say later on, even though this is like early on, that this city where all this is taking place in doesn't actually exist, and that these people are really like unconscious, like in some other location, kind of like the Matrix. So it makes you wonder, like, why are all these people unconscious and like this? Why is it just this city? Why is it music? Is this all really happening? And I don't mean just like the events taking place in the computer world. I mean like everything, every single thing that's in the show, even the Matrixy parts. Is that even true? Even though you see things from other people's perspectives, is that just all part of the ruse? Is this all in the main dude's head? Sadly, because of that, it's really hard to get into watching it. And maybe that's part of the confusion with the series, because you assume everything's not happening. You just don't pay attention to like important stuff. I don't know, even though it is pretty confusing and hard to grasp, it's still a pretty neat concept. It has beautiful art. I'm really interested to see if they go in any sort of direction with the main character, or if he's just gonna be kind of like a blank slate. And this even fits with the theme, because in order to fight these prism monster people that are like affected by this, these main characters go through a transformation themselves. And these like prisms shoot out of them, but they're not evil, and they get these fancy weapons. And again, it makes me feel like really, really full of Persona vibes. It fills that part in my soul, especially since I'm not watching Persona 5, the animation. Oh, I probably should have mentioned that at the very beginning. Yeah, for the spring anime season, part of the reason why my list is so short is because I'm avoiding Persona 5, the animation, because I'm currently streaming Persona 5, the game, and I don't want to spoil myself, you know, for things that might happen. So I'm avoiding it like the plague. I'm also avoiding, what was the other big one that came out this season? Man, what was it? Oh, Tokyo Ghoul Re. I'm avoiding that because I seriously want to read the manga first. Because already I was hearing stuff on the internet of like, whoa, they're doing that arc right now, right here. While I was introduced to Tokyo Ghoul through the anime first and then the manga is like 100 times better. And especially with how they ended the second season of Tokyo Ghoul, like, how does that fit in with Tokyo Ghoul Re? How are they gonna address that? Because they went in a completely opposite direction than what they did with the manga. Is the second season of Tokyo Ghoul just written off as filler? Are they gonna somehow finagle that into the canon of Re? I didn't watch it, I don't know. So yeah, I apologize if I'm not gonna talk about too many big name stuff this season. Now, Maho Shoujo Ore? I think that's how you pronounce that. It's also called Magical Girl Ore. I tried reading the manga for this before, because I remember like 2-3 years ago maybe they announced that they were making this in anime, and people on Tumblr were like, oh, you guys should read the manga because this manga's amazing. And while it is hilarious, I have so many issues with it. Like, you have this girl, and apparently she belongs to a line of magical girls. Like, her mother was a magical girl. It's assumed that, like, pretty much every female in her family, like, down generations ago, like, were magical girls. But apparently in this universe, magical girls are actually run by the Yakuza to defeat these, like, naked bear-looking demons. In order to beat up these demons, you need more muscle mass and stuff. When a magical girl transforms, she turns into this really beefy dude. And that's the only magical thing about it. The real way to defeat these demons is just to literally beat it into its bloody gore on the floor. So this girl has to transform into a muscly dude to defeat these demons, which for some reason keep targeting her crush. I know that's just an excuse for her to be around him more, but I feel like there's something else going on there. And also, when she's not transformed, she and her best friend are trying to be idols, mostly because her crush is an idol too, and apparently a really good one at that. This anime is okay. Like, I quickly remembered, like, when I was watching this, why I stopped reading the manga at the first volume I think I got as far as. Love squares are lovely. I love them so much. I mean, Miraculous Ladybug, anyone. And you have the main character who's in love with her crush, but the crush is in love with her male self. And then you have his sister, who's the main girl's best friend, who also has a crush on her. They outright admit, like, oh, she has gay feelings for her. But they do that in a gross and, like, creepy way, where after she confesses her love to the main character, suddenly she thinks it's okay to just, like, be all over her and really clingy and literally holding her and never letting go and being really possessive of her. I don't like that stereotype at all. I know it's being played for comedy, but that in itself really sours my taste for this. Though it is kind of hilarious that it's like the brother and the sister are like kind of in love with the same person, so they kind of have a competition going on, but it's like one-sided because the brother is completely out of the loop with everything going on. And speaking of being out of the loop, he has a friend too, who's like the second half of his idol group, and his friend is just the most catty boyfriend. Like, they're not actually together, but you can obviously see that the dude's best friend is like really into him. So if anything, that sort of mini plot point, I would be interested in watching more of this anime. Another thing that really bothers me with this, and this might be just me nitpicking, I don't like how the magical girls are drawn. It's like a really bara art style, like muscles all over the place. It looks like they're like practically ripping the dresses that they're wearing, because they're still wearing dresses, mind you. And the way the dresses are cut, it's like the pecs are bulging out, and it's like, you know, you're only like 2 pixels away from drawing boobs. You might as well just give them boobs. To me, it looks really gross and fetishy, and like, there could have been so much more you could have done with the character design. They didn't have to be wearing, like, skin-tight dresses that, like, rip apart when they transform. No, they could keep the muscles, maybe tone it down a few notches, but they can keep the muscles. They can still give them very masculine looks and put them in dresses that actually fit them because, hey, magic, you know? I'm sure there's plenty of worst out there. But if I had to pick a worst for this season, I would actually pick Magical Shoujo Or, just cause it kind of bases its humor off of, like, anime stereotypes, and not in, like, a cool, clever way, just in a tired, old way. So next up, we have Boku no Hero Season 3. A lot of people know it as My Hero Academia, especially if you're watching it on Toonami. But I honestly prefer calling it Boku no Hero. If you guys haven't seen the first 2 seasons, it's basically like your typical shonen anime superhero show, except it takes on a lot of the Western tropes with superheroes, which you'd think wouldn't make that much of a difference, but it does actually freshen up. It makes it seem different and new, even if it's not entirely different and new. And it really helps with the whole ensemble cast and the villains too, and some of the heroes, like, they call their powers quirks. Their quirks, again, even if it's not all that different, it still freshens up what you've already seen in some kind of superhero genre show or movie. And the main character, Deku, he actually grew up without powers, and his dream was to become a hero. And there's this hero who's basically kind of like the Captain America of this show. It seems really obvious that he's modeled after Captain America. His name is... what the fuck was his name? All Might. All Might is his name. Deku is like his biggest fan, and it turns out All Might can have the ability to pass down his own power to Deku. It's really interesting. Kind of like a dramatic irony sense, seeing Deku having to learn how to be a hero at such a late age, whereas everyone else in his team, everyone else in the school that he got into, they've had their powers since they were, like, literally born. So they've already gone past all of the trials and tribulations of them figuring out their powers and stuff. And I also feel this show is, like, a really cool allegory for people with disabilities. Seeing characters like Deku and All Might exist and have to accommodate their own drawbacks to kind of catch up with society and be a part of a functioning society. There's so much more I can talk about. I feel like I've already talked about Boku no Hero before on my channel, like on my YouTube channel. If I have, it was probably really cringy because I didn't know what I was doing. But if you do want to see it, look for, like, Quickfire Anime, I think it was called, and my YouTube channel is Spacey Ghost. But on to season 3. Season 3, I was scared for season 3 because I heard so many people who've read the manga, who are, like, caught up with the manga, like, I could feel the tension from Tumblr. So I'm just sitting here like, oh, what's gonna happen? Some serious shit already happened in the second season. It could only go worse from here. But, like, the first 3 episodes were very catch-up heavy. Like, it was so slow. 3 whole episodes. Like, I guess for people who aren't so familiar with the characters or just jumping into season 3, I guess, it makes sense. And for some of the minor heroes that you don't really see that much, it also makes sense because some of the heroes, like, I don't think their powers were all that explained. Whereas people like Deku and Bakugo and Todoroki, you're like, yeah, fuck it. I already know everything about their stuff. And a lot of those early episodes in season 3 were very Minata-centric. And it's like, come on, dude. Get the fuck out of here. I don't like you. No one likes you but the mangaka himself. Why can't people just fucking delete that character from the show? He adds nothing to it except inserting pervy dialogue where it doesn't belong. And another small complaint I have, like, can we please get rid of the text on the screen? I understand in the manga, like, it's not colored, it's not as distinct, or at least in the early stuff, I would assume, or like in the beginning of a volume of a manga, it makes sense, you know? Text with the characters' names and their, like, quirks, so you can keep track of everyone. But in an anime, it's colored, so it's all super distinct. And also I'm assuming you're watching more than just one episode. Again, I get it, maybe in season 1. But at the same time, when you have multiple characters on screen, and you have to add text next to everyone of their name and their quirk, that's so much text, with subtitles too. It's just all over the screen and it's ugly. Just get rid of it. I don't know if anyone has the same complaint, but I do, and it bothers me really bad. Even though this season isn't over with, it's gonna carry on into the summer, I'm still going to discuss a little bit of what happened so far. They just go on, like, a training camp, which I really appreciate this. Like, just because you defeated these bad guys in the past, it doesn't mean your abilities have drastically improved. And, of course, when they're training, they get attacked by the evil villain team. Which, let me tell you about the evil villain team. I actually really like the magician dude. I don't know why. He's a really pretentious asshole, but for some reason, I like him so much better than the others. And yes, that includes Dabby. Like, I don't get Dabby. I'm sure I'll discover Dabby and his whole business going on later on. But why does everyone want to fuck the purple Sasuke boy? I kind of get it, because he's like a bad boy. He kind of looks like he's doing his own thing, even though he's part of this team right now. And the purple flames are fantastic. I think it's purple flames he has. Or is it blue flames? Either way, it's like, ooh, he's got a cool fire going on. And I've heard so many theories about Dabby and Todoroki, who has, like, the hot-cold quirk going on. I heard so many theories about them being related, which by now isn't really a theory now. I feel like that's pretty much canon. Like, they look pretty similar. They both have fire abilities, which doesn't really say much because Bakugo also has fire abilities. But the thing about Dabi's fire ability, just the color itself kind of solidifies the theory for me. I feel like if Todoroki's quirk wasn't so split in half, with like the right side being hot, the left side being cold, I'm probably wrong because I mix those two up all the time. But either way, if it wasn't so divided, I feel like Todoroki's quirk would look exactly like Dabi's. And also, I saw this fan art on Tumblr that kind of might have been a spoiler fan art of Todoroki, but he had Dabi's markings, especially like around that one eye that was like burned. And the caption for the fan art was like, oh, here's Todoroki if he burned off his cool quirk, or something like that. So I have a feeling that Dabi's whole backstory was that he was an older brother of Todoroki who like left home early on, got rid of the cool part of his quirk, and just was like, fuck society, and started doing his own thing. I feel like I'm really spot on. I feel like I'm also wrong on so many levels. Maybe I accidentally stumbled into the manga area of like Tumblr, and it doesn't feel like I spoiled myself, but maybe I did on accident. If I did, I apologize, everyone. I also don't really get why everyone's obsessed with, I forget her name, but the Sundari chick. Like, I've seen her everywhere, all over conventions, all over fan arts, but this whole entire time, until I watched this show, I thought she was just some kind of version of Papiko from, like, Pop Team Epic. I just assumed, like, oh, they did some kind of Mad Max parody, and I guess people who watch Pop Team Epic really like that, so that must be why there's so many cosplays of this specific thing. But now that I've seen her in the anime, I really don't like her. I don't like how she's such, like, a one-note person. And of course she's obsessed with Deku because he's the main character, even though when she saw him, he was, like, literally all broken. Like, there's nothing special about him that you know of, chick. So she bothers me. I'm also really bothered about, like, the BDSM-looking dude. The dude with all the teeth. Did they even mention his name? I don't think they mentioned his name. But I just don't like him. Just his design is gross. And it kinda has nothing to do with his quirk. Teeth just bother me in general. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. Because I can't give you an answer. It just does. So seeing him activate his quirk, I just can't look at the TV. The other people on the evil team, they're nothing. They're garbage. And of fucking course, they capture Bakugo. And now we have to have an arc where we save Bakugo. Man, I hate comparing every shonen series to Naruto, but it feels like it's going down a really Naruto route. And while I'm afraid it would go in the same steps with like Bakugo joining the villains, which I could kind of see, because the way everyone's been handling Bakugo is like so unfair. I feel like I've mentioned this before, probably in one of my live streams. Pretty much every interaction Bakugo has had with like UA, which is the school they go to, and the faculty and other heroes in general, Bakugo has been dealt with such humiliation, and everyone just laughs off his anger issues, and they don't really address them or like give him coping mechanisms to deal with them, or like sits down and talks about his issues. They just leave him be, and they make fun of him, and everyone's on him for being so spontaneous and just bullheaded and just kind of stuck in his ways, but they don't really teach him anything else. It's obvious he's gonna leave UA. It really sucks because that's like his dream school, but it's not all that it's cracked up to be, obviously. But at the same time, from what I've seen so far in season 3, the way the villains are treating Bakugo, yes, they're like, oh, look at all this mistreatment, we can do you so much better. Bakugo, I don't know if you know this, villain team, but Bakugo doesn't take shit from no one. I kind of relate to him in a sense, because I'm kind of the same way. Like, even if I previously, like, agreed to something, the minute someone else tries, like, telling me what to do, or, like, people start assuming they know how I feel, I'm immediately like, no, fuck that, and I, like, change everything. So even if Bakugo feels mistreated by everyone at UA, just the fact that the villains are just like, oh, join our side, we kidnapped you. I could already see Bakugo being like, no, you don't tell me what I want to do, only I tell me what I want to do, and start, like, fucking shit up. And then the villains are just gonna be all like, whoa, I thought you wanted this, we're so unprepared. So whereas in season 2, I saw him totally turning to the villain side, now I totally see Bakugo just being like, fuck everything, and just going solo. I don't know if going solo means he'll just do hero work on his own, or what, but clearly he's not gonna stop using his quirk. So maybe he'll just be like a person for hire sort of situation. Maybe not. I really want to see the looks on, like, everyone's faces when they show up to save him and he's already saved himself. And with all this, I actually am starting to be kind of turned on to, like, Bakugo and, what's her name? The main chick. The gravity chick. I know that's not her name, and I know her name starts with an O. But I'm really starting to get turned on to, like, her and Bakugo, like, a sort of relationship going on there. Because while it is obvious that Deku might be falling in love with her, or she might be falling in love with Deku, she understands Bakugo so much more. Like, when everyone was gearing up to save him, she was the only one that was totally against it, because obviously that's not what Bakugo wants. But no, everyone has to be the hero and be like, well, if no one saves him, who will? Plot twist, himself. I'm still scared for what's to come. I feel like there's an even bigger bad out there besides just this villain team. Because honestly, the warp portal guy, he doesn't seem all that dangerous. Like, he's more of a support person, even though he's more like the one in charge, I guess. And the guy with the hands, he is just a fucking child who just wants everything to go his way. I'm honestly disappointed with him because I seriously thought his character design was super cool. And plus his quirk by itself is super scary, super destructive. But his characterization himself, like, if Minata didn't exist, he would actually be the worst character in the show, honestly. I mean, besides the BDSM looking dude, but that's just me. Next, we have what I think will be the best anime of the spring season. And this is totally just me being biased. But we have Binin Koku, Chikyu, Boy Biv, Happy Kiss. That is a big sense of nonsense. The English title is Cute High Earth Defense Club Happy Kiss. This is the 3rd season. The first season was All That Mess, Cute High Earth Defense Club Love, and then the 2nd season was the same thing but with 2 loves, and now it's Happy Kiss. If you guys haven't seen it, I would highly recommend it. It's like a gag anime, but in, like, the best way. The basic plot of this series is you get this group of boys, and they're part of the Earth Defense Club, which doesn't really mean anything. It's more like the Going Home Club or like the Do Nothing Club. I don't know if those actually exist in, like, Japanese high schools, but, like, I know it's a big thing in anime. But they're chosen because so much despair is in the world, and it's their job to transform into magical boys and fix that despair and spread love through the world. And then there's the student council, who for some reason is always evil, and they're the ones causing the despair. What I really appreciate about this show is how it's not a yaoi, it's not shonenai, it's just these boys spreading love to everyone. And it's really obvious that this is a show for gay people. And things got even more interesting in the 2nd season, because the 2nd season introduced 2 evil twins, and the whole season is just them thirsting really hard for the older brother of one of the main characters. But with this third season, you could totally watch on your own. It's other than the main premise of just the boys transforming and like spreading love and stuff. Everything else could be on its own. The other boys have graduated, so even though it's the same school, it's like a whole new cast, new alien creature helping them. It makes me happy that the main characters, they go to the same hot spring that the characters in the past have gone to. I'm sitting here desperately hoping we get a cameo towards the end of this season of just anyone from the previous ones, because they can't just not exist anymore, you know? As for the meat of the plot of this season, so it's not just about spreading love. What's going on is that there's these two alien princes. Both of them want to take over the Earth. So right now they're having this sort of like mini competition with each other. And the one, I guess he's like the more evil of the two. He wants to control it, just full of like strict evilness, despair, sadness. And then the other one is just kind of like a happy dictator. Like, he wants to control the Earth, but he wants everyone to be, like, happy, and that's why they recruit these characters to try and, I want to say do their bidding, but that just sounds really evil. I mean, this whole thing sounds evil on the surface, but it's treated like no big deal. With the good guys, the Earth Defense Club, they end up calling themselves the Happiness Knights, which isn't the most perfect name, but I can dig it. Like, I totally already ship, like, the three upperclassmen together as, like, a threesome. And it's very distinct and obvious that the main character-ish, they're all sort of the main character, but, like, the red knight person, he's a total pillow princess to the orange-haired guy. I don't know names, I apologize. And the blonde with them, the guy who makes the threesome a threesome, he's the total sadist. And he has no apologies for it. And then the two underclassmen, they're kind of like the bickering married couple of the group. And I know I said in the first season that, like, when they transform, they get, like, really naked. But here in the third season, they go all out. Like, there are full-on ass shots in this. Like, I want to try and give examples. For those watching on YouTube, I'm gonna try my best and insert some kind of picture. I might get demonetized, even though I'm not even monetized, but I might get, like, shut down by YouTube for it. So I'm gonna try my best. But it's unbelievable how close they get with the censorship here. Now, with the villain team, I don't really know what the whole plot is with them. Like, I like them. I like them a lot better than the villain student council in the first two seasons. Well, no, I lied. They didn't really show up in the second season. I loved the twins in the second season. I downloaded their evil song that they sing when they transform because it's like such a bop. As for this season's student council, I love them so much more. The main dude in it, he just looks like Yukanda to me. I cannot unsee that for the life of me. And Yukanda, I mean, like, the samurai-looking character from The Gray Man. So if anyone has seen that you know exactly what I'm talking about. The other two members of the student council, I had canon as trans, with, like, the pink-haired one being a trans girl. It's so obvious. I mean, not only with, like, the whole cuteness factor going on with that character, but also with the fact that during the swimsuit episode, that's the only character that wore, like, a really frilly, like, bikini top and just, like, a woman's swimsuit in general. And then as for the other, the third one, I had canon him as a trans dude. And I say this mostly because during their transformation sequence for the villains, they only show the main villain naked. Whereas with the other two, they just show them, like, already in the fancy villain clothing. So it's like, why hide all of that? My question, though, with this anime, is the student council gonna do anything? 'Cause yes, they find a target they want to fill with despair, or who's already despaired, and they transform him into a monster. But after that, like, they just watch what happens. Like, they see the Happiness Knights come And they don't do anything to stop the happiness knights. They just let those knights help the poor person they transformed. And you'd think, they're villains. If they see the good guys try and stop them, they're gonna fight back, right? But so far that hasn't happened. So, is there like another agenda they have going on? Are they just keeping track of the moves so they have like a higher advantage whenever they do decide to like kick ass and take names? And there's only so many episodes left. As of me recording this, I think there's only like 7 or 8 episodes. I can't find my phone where I labeled everything. But yeah, it's like almost to the end. I'm totally expecting like a full-on fight battle between the two of them. But it's really far into the game if they decide to like save that for the final episode. And that's all that I watched for the spring anime season. Lots of magical girl stuff. Lots of boys transforming and using magic to defeat evil. Before I leave, I do have one more anime to talk about. This is a special request anime. And I feel like I've said this before, but I'm just gonna lay this out here again. If anyone has a specific anime or series or whatever you want me to talk about on here on the podcast, whether it be something that's coming out soon or something that's already been completed, email me at Spacey Goes Business or DM me on any of my social medias, and I'll try and do my best to get that done for you. This one has been requested by a good friend of mine, Lilly, also Ultimate Bunny Lord on YouTube. And she requested me to review Hitori Jimi, My Hero, also called My Very Own Hero. And oh my god, thank you so much, Lily, for requesting this for me, because for starters, I was dying to watch this since last year, I think, when it came out, and Crunchyroll didn't have it, so unfortunately I couldn't watch it. And then, recently, when Lily requested it to me, Lily gave me a way to watch it. It's probably down now. So I'm not gonna share that link or whatever to watch it. My Very Own Hero, the reason why I'm so stoked about this and so thankful for Lily is because when I was younger, I used to be like all over yaoi. Like if a yaoi existed, I would like hunt it down and figure out a way to watch it. But now that I'm older, I realize, oh, a lot of yaoi is pretty disgusting and fetishy, and as a gay man myself, a lot of it makes me really uncomfortable. But My Very Own Hero, it's like so different. It's so much better than most of the yaois that exist right now. Or maybe there are better ones out there that I don't know of, but either way, this whole anime is just about 4 useless gays falling in love. Like, that's literally what it is. Half of the show has to do with Kensuke. Don't ask me why I only remembered his name. But Kensuke, there's this friend he had in elementary school who he was in love with, but he didn't know he was in love with. And he's like, his best friend is like this fancy school prince who left for like years. And now that they're in high school, I think they're in high school, I hope they're in high school, like, the school prince comes back and starts, like, confessing his love to him. It's kind of rocky at first, because at first, when they're still, like, in the confessing stage and stuff, it does kind of have some of the tropes that, like, a lot of other yaoi use. I could be just overthinking things, because I do think it's really odd how Kensuke, he obviously fantasized being with the school prince, is obviously in love with him, wants to do things that couples do, but when it comes to being confronted with being in love with him, he's just like, what? No, I don't like dudes. Why is there confusion? Why don't you just fucking date? But once they do date, they are the most ride or die couple, and it's lovely to see it be a gay couple, because you hardly see that ever. And it's really nice to see that after they become an official couple, they don't try and deny it, they don't try and avoid it, and I'm looking at you, Junjo Romantica. There are a lot of yaois I've seen where they're like in the 5th season or so. They've already confessed their love to each other, but yet for some reason, one person in the group has to be like, what? I'm not in a relationship with him. Gays are gross. Making out with him is so gross. I'm so fucking tired of that, which makes me so happy about my very own hero. Because when they're dating, they're very open about it. Kensuke and the prince, I mean. I'm sorry if I'm starting to make things confusing. Like, they're just openly like, oh yes, my boyfriend this, my boyfriend that. The other half of the anime has to do with Kensuke's older brother, who's like a teacher, who falls in love with this punk dude. And they used to have like some history going on in the past, which could possibly be problematic. I don't know. I think the assumption is that the teacher dude graduated high school early or graduated college early, so he's not as old as like a typical teaching age is. So I'm just gonna pretend and assume that they're like close enough in age that they can date. And I like how they sort of already have a backstory with each other. Like, they already clearly know each other. They've already interacted before. Because this teacher, he was kind of like a punk himself. Like, he was a punk that beat up other punks. And he actually helps the punk kid that he falls in love with, like, get out of his situation. Because he has a really sad backstory. Like, with his mother and stuff. I won't get too into it. It's one of those things that's best to watch on your own to, like, get that sort of context. And it's really nice to see them come to terms with their own feelings. The thing with my very own hero is that, yes, it's technically a yaoi, but it treats its characters like they're just people. People who happen to be in love with other dudes. People who are human and have emotions and things going on. And it's not just all about, like, sex or who's on top of who or what will people think. So yeah, if you out there would like seeing a gay love story in animated form, I would highly recommend Hirojimi no Hero, my hero, yeah. And again, thank you, Lilly, for requesting this to me, and thank you, everyone out there, for listening to this. I really appreciate it. I'm still pretty new to this whole podcasting thing. I know a lot of my podcast episodes keep disappearing because I don't have the money right now to, like, splurge for an actual, like, paid SoundCloud account. And I don't know if you guys know this, but if you only do, like, the free SoundCloud account, they only give you so many hours. I think it's like 3 hours of, like, upload time. And then after that, you have to, like, either delete older episodes or they get rid of those or, like, hide them from people. So I apologize. I hope this is my thing. I hope that if you listen on iTunes and you download them on iTunes and you just don't delete them when you finish listening to this podcast, I think you can still listen to all of the episodes that way because, you know, it's downloaded. They can't just reach into your files of your computer and, like, erase it from existence that way. So I hate to be pushy, but if you really want to listen to like, everything in its entirety until I get a more secure job or a way of income to support SoundCloud, please go to iTunes. Please subscribe to this podcast. Please download all the episodes you can get your hands on. I know this is pretty late, and I know this probably won't work for, like, the earlier episodes. But if you start doing this now, then you get all the episodes coming up into the future. And plus, once I do get enough income to support SoundCloud, and I don't have those limits that I do now, I am planning on, like, re-uploading the stuff that I had to get rid of on SoundCloud. Plus, I upload these episodes on YouTube as well, so that's another way to listen to episodes that don't exist anymore. I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. This was a long time coming, but it's here, it's out there. I'm gonna try and edit it as fast as I can to get it out, because so much is happening in the month of June. For the next podcast episode, I think I'm gonna do E3. I already got notes down for the EA conference, and I'm waiting today for the rest of everything, because so much is coming out on Sunday, the day I'm recording this. So I'm gonna be all over that. And then I think the podcast after that, because right after E3, the Voltron Season 6 comes out. And there was something else coming out June 15th, too. I completely forgot what it was. But it was something else that was podcast related. Something I wanted to talk about on the podcast. But yeah, both a new season of Voltron and a new season of something else is coming out on the 15th. So I'm probably going to talk about that after E3. So yeah, those are just some things to look forward to. Send them to spaceyghostbusiness@gmail.com. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you after E3. Bye!